The Kings streak ends at 6 wins in a row. We've got a breakdown and analysis of the loss to the Devils and more on this edition of Locked On LA Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Kings fans, welcome to Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I'm Eddie Garcia, your host of Locked On LA Kings. I've worked in sports media for the past 30 years, also co-host of the Puck Podcast, a weekly NHL review show that's been putting out content for the last 18 years, and a passionate LA Kings fan for over 30 years. You can enjoy the NFL season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, the LA Kings played game number 29 of the NHL season earlier today in New Jersey against the Devils. Kings were looking to extend their season-high winning streak to 6 in a row as they played game number 2 of this 7-game road trip. As for the lineup for the LA Kings, mostly the same, certainly the same as far as the skaters go, as Kings head coach Jim Hiller was using the 11-7 setup, 11 forwards and 7 defensemen for the 4th straight game. His record going into the game against New Jersey, 16-2-1, while using this 11-7 setup. The top line would be Anze Kopitar centering Adrian Kempe and Trevor Moore. The second line would be Quentin Byfield centering Tanner Jeannot and Warren Foegele. The third line, Philip Deneau, with Kevin Fiala and Alex Laferriere. And on the fourth line, you'd have Samuel Hellenius at center with Alex Turcotte on one of the wings, and the other winger would be rotated amongst the other wingers in the lineup. The defensive pairs, you had Mikey Anderson and Vladislav Gavrikov as the top pairing, Joel Edmondson and Brant Clark as the second pairing, Jacob Moverara and Jordan Spence as the third pairing, and Kyle Burrows would be the extra defenseman, the seventh defenseman. As for the goalie, it would be David Rittich in net, not Darcy Kemper. Now, I've been talking about how I thought that Rittich should be getting maybe a few more starts, especially at home with the way he has played. But I was a little surprised to see Rittich over Kemper in this game. But then come to find out that in their careers, they have very different results in their careers against the New Jersey Devils. David Rittich, 5-0 in his career coming in against New Jersey, while Darcy Kemper was 0-5-4 against the Devils. So when you throw that into the mix, it makes a lot of sense. Thoughts going into this game, for me, would the Kings elevate their game against a much better opponent on the road? We've seen the Kings do it at home recently, beating quality opponents like the Stars, the Wild, and the Jets. Now, time to step up to the challenge of doing it in someone else's house. As for the game summary of this matchup against New Jersey, one of the top teams in the NHL and the Eastern Conference, a good first period, I thought, for both teams. Kings were only credited with 2 shots on goal, but they had good scoring chances, hit a couple of posts, some shots that were deflected, missed the net a couple of times, but had chances in some high danger areas, just couldn't convert, were just a little bit off. But I thought a very even first period, despite the disparity in shots on goal. I don't think that was telling the story of how competitive this game was. Second period, more of the same, but each team would get the puck into the net. The Kings would strike first on a one-timer blast from defenseman Jordan Spence into the net to make it 1-0. But not long after that, Devil star Jack Hughes would skate through the Kings. A shot would go off of the stick of Andre Palat, his teammate, and into the net, and we would be tied at 1-1 after 2 periods, 2 evenly fought periods, obviously even on the scoreboard. And the third period, the winner of the third period, would win the game, barring overtime, of course. About 7 minutes left in the third period. We are still tied at 1-1 when Devil star Jack Hughes would score to give New Jersey a 2-1 lead, but LA would get their only power play of the game with less than 3 minutes to play and a chance to tie it up. Unfortunately, instead, it was New Jersey putting the game away with a shorthanded goal. Kings lose to the Devils 3-1 as their 6-game winning streak comes to an end. As for the game stats in this one, that's not the game stats. Time to call an audible. As for the game stats in this one, obviously the Kings come up short on the scoreboard by a score of 3-1. Shots on goal, as you might imagine, did favor the home team in this one, but mentioned that that's not really indicative of exactly how the game was played. But shots on goal obviously are important. and the Devils were able to get 26 shots on goal to the Kings 13. As far as the power plays went, each team was 0 for 1. Obviously, that was big for the Kings because New Jersey came in with the league's top-rated power play. The face-offs in this one favored the Kings 28-22. Block shots favored LA 20-16. And we also had hits in this one, which favored New Jersey. 27-18 was the total on the stat sheet. Didn't seem like it was that big of a disparity, but the stats say what the stats say. So what was good, by the way, if you were watching on YouTube, apparently I downloaded the wrong graphic. So sorry about that. If you're listening on the podcast, you're like, what the hell's going on? Operator error. So what was good for the LA Kings from a team standpoint? I thought the Kings played 2 very solid periods against a very good team on the road. Shots on goal were not close, but LA had scoring chances. You could even argue they had the better scoring chances over the first 2 periods of this game. There were deflections, there were saves made, shots that went wide. Vladislav Gavrikov hit a post. Kings did a great job of not committing penalties in this game. Although I will admit, I thought the refs were letting them play a bit, which I'm a fan of. I hate seeing the ticky-tack calls, but then again, if my team had the number 1 power play in the NHL, I'd probably be more in favor of it. New Jersey, though, again, coming into the game, number 1 power play. The Kings only took 1 penalty in the game and were able to kill that off with ease. I think New Jersey maybe had 1 shot on goal, but it wasn't even a great shot. The Kings were great in that 1 penalty kill opportunity that they had. And through 2 periods, it was a very even, hard-fought, good hockey game. So what was not so good for the Kings from a team standpoint? Well, the 3rd period. It almost looked like the Kings were coming off a back-to-back situation where New Jersey was a rested team. Now, that wasn't the case, but the Kings just didn't match the Devils' energy in the 3rd period. The Devils were the better team in the 3rd, and probably not surprisingly, they were able to translate that into getting the goals and getting the win. The Kings had a couple of miscues that led directly to Devils goals. Philip Deneau failed to pick up his man in the middle of the ice. That turned into a goal. Andrei Kopitar, a rare turnover on the power play in the neutral zone, and that ended up in the back of the net on a shorthanded goal for New Jersey to ice the game. While the Kings did get a lot of good chances in the 1st and 2nd period, they didn't finish on those chances. Passes and shots on net were redirected just wide. The timing was off just a little bit and just enough to keep the puck from going into the back of the net. Alex Turcotte had a penalty shot in the 2nd period. He shot it over the net for the biggest missed opportunity on the night for the Kings, and that was tough. The Kings, if they could have just capitalized on a couple of those opportunities, then they likely would have had the lead in the 3rd period, and then you're looking at a different outcome, most likely. The Kings holding the lead in the 3rd period obviously are very, very good, being the defensive team that they are. The Kings had not allowed more than 2 goals over that 6-game winning streak in any one game. Obviously, they allowed 3 in the loss to New Jersey. So my overall takeaway from this game, I thought the Kings played a better game in the loss to New Jersey than the win over the New York Islanders. And I said after that game against New York, it was going to take a much better game to beat the Devils, obviously against much better competition. Margin for error is less. Also, the Kings, what makes them a great team with the defense that they have also can hurt them when they don't have the lead. If the Kings have a lead going into the 3rd, like I said, they're a very tough team to beat. But if they fall behind in the 3rd period, they have to work very hard to create their scoring chances most of the time. And when you're behind in the 3rd period and the clock's ticking against you, makes it a lot easier for the other team to just be content by clearing the puck, because they know you've got to really work hard for the most part to cycle and get those shots to the point and go hard to the net. It's the Kings are not a great team at creating instant offense because of their skill. For the most part, there are some guys, Adrian Kempe, Kevin Fiala, that can do that. But for the most part, when the Kings score goals, they're kind of team goals, right? They have to really work for them. So like I said, what makes the Kings great when they have the lead is what hurts them when they're behind in the third period, because they just don't have that instant kind of offense for the most part. I'm not too disappointed with the loss. Yes, this is professional sports. There are no moral victories. You're judged by your win-loss record. But we do have to be realistic as well. The Kings aren't going to win every game. As much as we enjoyed the 6-game winning streak, we knew it was going to come to an end at some point. What you should demand from your team every night is that they show up and they play hard and they play smart. The Kings did that for the most part, especially over the first two periods. I have no complaints with what they did over the first two periods. I know you certainly can say they should have gotten more shots through or more shots on goal. But again, the scoring chances, working hard to get the puck in good scoring areas, they did that. They just needed to finish a little bit more. They needed to clean it up just a little bit more, but not too overly concerned about the loss. Devils are a very good team. They've got some very skilled players who certainly, like Jack Hughes, who showed it in this game. So hopefully we see 3 solid periods of hockey going forward, not just 2, coming up on Saturday as the Kings head to Madison Square Garden to take on the New York Rangers. So which Kings players stood out and which Kings players didn't in the loss to New Jersey? We will talk about that next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Hey, no matter how the last game went, anytime you take the field, you've got a shot at greatness. Give your team the best shot at winning by recruiting more MVPs with Indeed, because Indeed is the hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. And Indeed is the only job site where you're guaranteed to find quality applications that meet your must-have requirements, or else you don't pay. Indeed partners you with every step of the hiring process. You can find great talent through time-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match assessments and virtual interviews. Plus, you only pay for quality applications that meet your must-have requirements. And listeners to this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your job more visibility at Indeed.com/locked-on. Just go to Indeed.com/locked-on right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/locked-on. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. And get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets when you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. They'll get started with $150 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, let's get into some of the Kings' individual performers against the New Jersey Devils. And we always start with the goaltender, and David Riddick, I thought played pretty well. Now, I'm always someone who's pretty lenient when it comes to the goaltending. I think they have one of the most difficult jobs in all of sports, so you can take that for what it's worth. But I'm very fair when it comes to the goaltenders. I didn't think David Riddick played a bad game at all. I thought he played good enough for the Kings to win. He turned aside 23 of 26 shots. The first goal, Alex Laferriere got picked on a play. Should have been an interference call, or could have been an interference call, with Jack Hughes carrying the puck. One of his teammates basically set a pick like in basketball for him. But they didn't call it. And again, the refs were letting him play. So, okay, they only called 2 penalties all night. But Hughes was able to get the shot off. His teammate, Andre Palat, deflected it in the net. Nothing David Riddick is going to be able to do on that one. The second goal, Jack Hughes gets the puck in the slot in a scoring area where he's going to score on that every time. Philip Deneau didn't pick him up as Hughes made a move into the middle of the ice, got a pass, a great pass, and that was as easy as it's going to get for Jack Hughes. Third goal of the Kings allowed was on the power play, so a shorthanded goal. That's obviously a very difficult situation. Andrei Kopitar, he had a shift on the power play. He wanted to come off the ice. He was going to the bench, and as he was going to the bench, David Riddick, you could say, made the mistake of passing it to him. Now, it's difficult in the heat of the moment to know exactly, if a guy's going off for a change or whatnot. Even if he was, Riddick got Kopi the pass up against the boards, and Kopitar made a bad pass in the middle of the ice. It got intercepted and ended up going into the back of the net. Now, the initial shot was blocked. I think it was Brant Clark, but it went right back to a Devils player who shot it immediately, and Riddick couldn't recover. That's a real tough one for a goalie because he's reacting to the first shot, and then the rebound goes right to another player for a second shot, and he couldn't recover. So I really thought all 3 goals that David Riddick allowed were not soft goals. Maybe he'd tell you different if you talk to him, but I thought they were all, reasonable goals that were allowed, if you want to call it that. So I thought Riddick did his job. I thought he played good enough to win. The Kings didn't support him enough, both offensively and from a defensive standpoint. But Riddick made a lot of good saves in this one. Kevin Fiala, we did see a lot of good Kevin in this one. He had a very highly skilled play on a 2-on-1 that developed because of his patience as he waited for his teammate Alex Laferriere to skate up into the play to make it a 2-on-1. Meanwhile, the defenseman sprawled down on the ice to try and make it difficult for Fiala to get the pass over. He did a toe drag move right around the defender, got the shot off from a dangerous spot, but Devils goalie Jacob Markstrom made the save. Fiala also had a steal in this one and a good shot on goal, but couldn't finish. And then late in the game, Fiala's skill gave the Kings their only power play opportunity when he made a stick handling move around a defender, and that defender ended up tripping him because he was going for the puck, missed it because Fiala moved it out of the way and he got into his skates. So Fiala did finish with no points and he was a -1, but I still thought that this was a good game for Kevin. I thought he was a dangerous player. I thought he was very active. He was making things happen. So this turnaround in the season for Kevin Fiala that we've seen of late, I didn't see anything in this game that would make me think that isn't still continuing. So that was good news. Alex Laferriere back home in New Jersey. We thought he might be able to have a big game. Had a lot of family and friends in attendance to watch him. And I thought he was very active throughout the game. He did get the assist on the Kings' lone goal, a nice one-time pass from the boards to Jordan Spence. He would have had a great chance in the second period on a really nice pass from Joel Edmondson, a patient pass from Edmondson. And unfortunately, he just took an extra second, an extra beat before he could corral it and get a shot off. And by then, Markstrom had already been able to get over from post to post and was able to make the save. But Laferriere, again, thought his presence was felt in this one, had a couple of good chances, was skating hard in this one, certainly probably had a little extra motivation in this one with the friends and family, but did have an assist, but was not able to, unfortunately, get a goal in this one back in his native New Jersey. Quinton Byfield, we always got to check in on Q, see if we saw any signs of progress. I would say pretty much status quo with what we've seen from him a lot lately. No points. He was a -1. He did have a really good chance on the Kings' lone power play. He was in front of the net. It was a pass, I think it was from Adrian Kempe down at the side of the net to Kopitar. He deflected it on net, and Q was there for the rebound, and he got his stick on it and got a rebound, but Markstrom made the save. So again, looking for Q to get one of those big goals. That could have been a big opportunity for him, but unfortunately did not go for him. I thought Jordan Spence, had a really good game on both ends of the ice. He broke up a 2-on-1 late in the second period, and then the puck went the other way and he joined the rush. And that was the play that ended up him getting the one-time shot on goal and scoring the Kings' only goal of the game. So literally on the same shift, in the same moment, he makes the defensive play and then goes down and scores a goal. That was probably his best moment of the entire season so far, getting it done on both ends of the ice. He had a one-handed deflection when he jumped up in a play, getting a pass from Quinton Byfield early in the game. That would have been a beautiful goal. He did end up even on the night. He was on the ice for the Devils' first goal, so that negated, obviously, his goal that he scored, so he ended up being an even player on the night. But I thought a pretty good game for Jordan Spence. Samuel Hellenius had the great pass to spring Alex Turcotte for the breakaway, where he drew the penalty shot, for the penalty shot. That was a very, very nice pass from Samuel Hellenius, but he also had a couple of bad turnovers in this one as well. So you take the good with the bad, but when you're a fourth liner and you're not getting a lot of ice time, you really got to limit those mistakes, because those mistakes will get you taken out of the lineup. So that was a great, great pass, but there was also a couple of mistakes there for Hellenius as well. The Kings' hottest players of late did not show up, at least on the scoreboard. Talked about Fiala, but Andrei Kopitar and Adrian Kempe, unfortunately, who have been really, really good of late for the Kings over this winning streak, did not show up on the scoreboard in this one. As far as some other numbers for the Kings, Jordan Spence, I mentioned, had the lone goal. The assists were from Alex Laferriere and Philip Deneau. Joel Edmondson led the Kings in blocked shots with 3. Tanner Jeannot and Samuel Hellenius tied for the team lead in hits with 3 apiece. And Kevin Fiala led all players with time on ice. Probably the first time this year. This is unofficial, but I think this is probably the first time all year a forward led the Kings in ice time. Usually it's either Mikey Anderson or Vladislav Gavrikov, but Kevin Fiala played 23 minutes in this game. And I believe, if I recall by memory, Anderson and Gavrikov were just over 20 minutes in this one. And Fiala did play the full 2 minutes on the power play, which Jim Miller has gone to here late to try and get Fiala going and get the power play going. I think it's a good move. I hope he continues it. But Kevin Fiala leading all Kings in ice time with 23 minutes. That was surprising and impressive. Up next, the Kings will look to bounce back in the Big Apple. We'll talk about that next here on Locked On LA Kings, your team every day. Hey, PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can do that with the LA Kings when they're playing a game or any other sporting event that's going on. They do it for every major sport. Just go to the PrizePick app, make your picks right now, and you could be a winner. And you can also win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with little as 4 correct picks. PrizePicks is the best way to get in on the sports action in most states, including California. Download the PrizePick app today and use the code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's the code LOCKEDONNHL on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you play your first $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, the LA Kings fall to 17-9-3 on the season, 37 points in 29 games. The Kings, unfortunately, did lose ground in the Pacific Division race against the first-place Vegas Golden Knights. Golden Knights beat the Winnipeg Jets on the road 3-2 in overtime. So that and the Kings' loss gives Vegas a 4-point lead over LA atop the Pacific Division. So now that the streak is over and the Kings are now 1-1 on this current 7-game road trip, time to refocus and get ready for the next game that comes up Sunday morning, LA time, 10 a.m. Pacific time, against the New York Rangers. The Kings will be taking on a struggling Rangers team that is in some turmoil right now. They just traded away their captain, Jacob Trouba, to the Anaheim Ducks, and they just signed their star goalie, Igor Shesterkin, to the richest deal for a goalie in NHL history, but he has not been playing great of late, at least numbers-wise, and neither is the team. The Rangers have lost 8 of their last 11, and home ice has not been great for them, 7-1 at the world's most famous arena, Madison Square Garden. Despite winning the President's Trophy for the best regular season record in the NHL last season, their head coach, Peter Laviolette, is on the hot seat right now as the Rangers check in with a 15-12-1 record. They're in 5th place in the Metropolitan Division of the Eastern Conference. And what do they say, though? A desperate animal is a dangerous animal? I don't know who says that, actually. I don't think I just made it up, but that could apply to the New York Rangers. They are a desperate team. They aren't playing well right now. Hopefully the Kings can take advantage of that. But again, the Kings will have to be ready to go in an early start time, which they're not really used to there at Madison Square Garden, 10 a.m. game, LA time. Obviously, the Kings need to keep doing what they've been doing of late, but just do a little bit better job of polishing things up than they did against New Jersey, and finish on some of those scoring chances. And I think the Kings should be okay. We do expect to see Igor Shesterkin in net for the Rangers. So Jonathan Quick, of course, is now the backup for New York. He's had a good season as the number 2 in limited action. And the Kings obviously have not seen Jonathan Quick start against them since he was traded away first to Columbus, then to Vegas, and then signing as a free agent back with the New York Rangers. So don't anticipate that happening in the game coming up on Saturday. It would be kind of a bittersweet thing to see, but again, does not look like it's going to happen. Like I said, the Rangers are struggling. They just paid Igor Shesterkin $1 gazillion, $11.5 million per season, which is the highest average annual value ever for a goalie. So they're going to play him unless they're playing back-to-back games. I'm pretty sure they're not playing a game on Sunday. So like I said, I do expect to see Igor Shesterkin against the LA Kings coming up 10 a.m. Pacific time on Saturday as the Kings look to get back on track as they take on the New York Rangers, a rematch of the 2014 Stanley Cup Final. For you everydayers, those of you that listen and watch Locked On LA Kings every day, coming up on Friday, we'll have our weekly Kings fan feedback show. Anything on your mind about our LA Kings over this nice stretch of games of late? Are you encouraged about the way the Kings have been playing lately? Questions, comments, your chance to sound off. The email address is lockedoneddie@gmail.com, EDDIE. You can also leave your comments if you're watching on YouTube in the comment section as well. Appreciate that. We'd also love for you to stay interactive with the show on social media, X, Twitter, Instagram. We are at Locked On LA Kings. Thank you for making Locked On LA Kings your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Fantasy Hockey. Become a fantasy hockey expert and get the edge over your league with daily tips from Steal and Flip. Find Locked On Fantasy Hockey on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Eddie Garcia. Thanks for listening and watching Locked On LA Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great rest of your day. We will talk to you tomorrow. And as always, go Kings, go.